This is the small, peaceful fishing village of Tuna Hill. The people here depend on fish as a source of income and food, which they catch using sustainable fishing methods. This means that they don't catch too many fish at one time, only taking the amount that is needed. This ensures that the fish can keep on reproducing, allowing the people of the village to keep on thriving for many, many years.
Fish are a key part of the food chain, both in the ocean and for us humans. They make up 80% of the planet's biodiversity and are a primary food source for almost 3 billion people.
One day, a big fishing corporation shows up with their large ships and huge nets. They intend to catch as many of Tuna Hill's fish as possible and make a big profit. Unfortunately, fish populations all over the world have been on the decline for decades, the main cause being overfishing. Overfishing is mostly caused by big and sometimes illegal fisheries that come in and relentlessly trap fish using very harmful fishing techniques. One of the most harmful fishing practices is called bottom trawling, where a massive net is strapped to two ships and is dragged across the ocean floor, consuming everything in its path. The fishery begins to use bottom trawls around the area. Most of the fish get caught in these nets and die. But these nets don't just catch the intended fish. They also pull in larger animals like dolphins, sharks, and turtles that happen to be in the way. This is called bycatch. Finally, the bottom trawls scrape the ocean floor, destroying ancient coral reefs that took thousands of years to form and are home to many species, like crabs, fish, seahorses, and sponges. The long-term effects go way beyond this. A lack of one species will result in a drastic increase of their prey populations, but a decrease in their predator populations, imbalancing the food chain. This also ruins the fishermen's livelihoods because the entire village depended on their fish stocks, which have now been depleted.
While overfishing is still a big problem, progress is being made. Because of the threat posed by these harmful fishing practices, the U.S. government has banned bottom trawling in over 150,000 square miles of ocean off the west coast.
But laws like this have also made it harder to meet the demand for seafood, leading to the rise in fish farming, or aquaculture. Though this practice is not new, it's been used for thousands of years. The more modern version takes place on a much larger scale to feed a growing population. Fish farming was initially seen as a more sustainable option to bottom trawling. But in recent years we've learned that fish farming, as it turns out, actually has its own harmful effects on the environment. This is the small fishing village of Salmon Creek. Like Tuna Hill, they use sustainable fishing practices and depend on salmon for income and food. Recently, a large salmon farm was opened near the town. In these farms, there are many pens next to each other. Each pen is filled with fish, all packed together and living in very unsanitary conditions. Because they're so close together, disease spreads very fast, affecting wild salmon populations as well as the domestic salmon. There are almost 1 million fish in this farm, so sea lice and other parasites are spreading rapidly. Unfortunately, salmon farms are placed in the areas where juveniles spawn. As they make their way out of the water, young salmon need to now navigate these massive farms. The baby salmon swimming to deeper waters are met by torrents of sea lice billowing out of the farms, becoming hosts and getting killed. To try and control disease amongst the salmon in the farms, chemicals are put into the pens. And while the chemicals do kill many of the parasites, they are toxic and are pushed into the surrounding waters by the currents. This, of course, poses another threat to the salmon in the area. While not all fish farms are bad, they sometimes just don't work for certain species and in certain environments. The salmon farms in British Columbia, for example, have been found to be causing a sharp decrease in wild salmon populations. This is a big issue because wild salmon play a major role in the ecosystem and the food chain. The fish farms near Salmon Hill have had the same effect, and now the people here have also lost their livelihoods.
But you can help. Don't choose to not eat fish, just be more mindful of where your fish comes from. To make sure that you only eat fish that's caught sustainably, you can ask restaurants if they know where they get their fish from. If they're unsure, you can use the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch app. By giving the app some basic information about the fish, it can tell you if the fish was caught in a sustainable way or not. These small actions can make a difference. If we are all more aware of the seafood we eat, necessary keystone species that hold the food chain together can thrive, allowing the incredible ecosystems they live in to flourish. And small fishing towns like Tuna Hill and Salmon Creek will be back in business.